Hey everybody, it's Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. How are you guys? I'm so excited to be with you today and bring you this really fun video on how to make this super cool slimline card. Love it. I'll give you dimensions and all the works in a few. See those cute butterflies? Oh my gosh, this is the cutest card. So all week, we're on Wednesday now, but all week I have been showing since Sunday the On the Horizon stamp set and dies. They're called Horizon dies and On the Horizon. This is a bundle. You save 10% when you buy the two of them together. And then I paired them with this Wildlife Wonder because I just really felt like this Wildlife Wonder went so amazing with this On the Horizon stamp set. And I think that they look so good together. So I've paired them together. That's the bear that's on our card. And also the sentiment that's on the outside that says a note of thanks is from this stamp set. We're going to be using this flower here and these here. See how well they pair together? So, and we're also going to do a thanks for everything on the inside, and we're going to use these trees. So we're going to use quite a bit from both these. And of course, like I said, we're going to use the dies here. We're going to cut out this beautiful wood piece that's going to be on our card. And I've also used these dies right here, which are the stitched rectangles. That is the piece that is the backdrop of our card right here. Totally get those. Now these are urgent because they are on last chance, and when they're sold out, they're sold out. So whatever inventory is there, but I love these labels. They're called tasteful labels. I love that there's two circles. I love this flagged one and this flagged one here. This one is amazing, which is what we're using today. And we are using that on the front of our card right here. So check them out. I use these a lot and they are on last chance. So once they're gone, we won't have any more. Stitched shapes, check those out. And Horizon dies, Wildlife Wonder, and On the Horizon. Okay, let's get started. That's enough talking. Let's make some cards, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to move these tape pieces. We are going to start our card, and I think it looks pretty great, don't you? We're going to start with a piece of Evening Evergreen cardstock. So let's go ahead and get started. So this piece of Evening Evergreen cardstock is 8.5 inches long by 7 inches tall. And then we're going to score it halfway at the 3.5 inch mark. And let's go ahead and give it a nice burnish with our bone folder. So this is the base of our card. And I'm going to start on the inside and work our way out. So the inside of our card has a panel of fresh freesia. And this panel is 8.25 by 3.25, and that's going to go on the inside. So let's get stamping on this piece right here. So first we're going to take our fresh freesia ink and we're going to stamp these beautiful birds right here in the corner. So I'm going to grab them. I'm going to ink them up. And we're going to put them in the corner. Let me pull this down so I can see where I'm stamping. Hopefully I'm not out of the camera. We're going to put those right here flying in this corner. Pretty awesome. With the same ink, we're going to do this tree line down here in the corner. So I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to bring that down where I can see a little better. And I'm going to stamp my tree line down here in this corner. Pretty cool. That's it for fresh freesia for right now. I'm going to clean my two stamps because if not, inevitably I will touch them, get ink on my fingers, and mess up my card. I don't want to do that. We're going to leave this thanks for everything out, and we're going to take our Evening Evergreen. And as you can see here, I've stamped that right above that tree line. So I'm going to close the card here so I can move my ink pad in. I'm going to ink up our thanks for everything. I'm gonna bring my card back down here where I can see what I'm doing. Hopefully I'm not out of camera. I think we're good right here. And I'm gonna stamp this right along this tree line. And it says thanks for everything. Pretty awesome. In Evening Evergreen. Now, Evening Evergreen is the color of our cardstock on the outside of our card. So we're tying the outside with the in, and Evening Evergreen looks pretty good with that fresh freesia, don't you think? I think so. Let's go ahead and attach this to the inside of our card. So we're going to use our tape runner. We're going to use our Stampin' Seal. And this is just the regular seal. And let's bring in our Evening Evergreen, and we're gonna go ahead and attach that to the inside. We want all the 4 sides to be approximately even. And let's go ahead, and now our inside is done. Now let's work on the outside. We're using the New Horizons paper. It's watercolored, it's absolutely gorgeous. And I've cut 2 pieces here of the DSP. They're 2 1/4 by 3 inches, and I'm gonna glue one to each end just like this. I love it. Love this paper. Love, love, love it. All right, so let's go ahead, and I think I'm gonna use the wet glue so that I'll have a little bit of wiggle room. We're gonna go ahead and put that down. And we'll start on one side, and then we'll do the other. I'm gonna pick that up. I'm gonna turn my card. I'm gonna try and line it up so that it's relatively even on both sides, and then I want to pick that up so that that purple is covered all the way to the outside edge. Slide that into place, and then go ahead and press that down. Now we're going to attach this piece on this side here. So same thing, we're gonna put our adhesive on the back. I like using wet glue because before it actually locks down like a tape runner does, and our tape runner is super sticky, so it does lock it down. You have a little bit of movement, so you can wiggle it around a little bit. And I'm gonna do the same thing here, only I'm gonna turn it this way this time. And I'm gonna try and find my outer edge and my 2 sides. And let's make sure, I'm gonna hold it and make sure they're right to the edge, and it is, and we'll press that one into place. So those are our pieces. So it looks like it's continuous, but you don't have to. It's a 6 by 6, so it won't fit the whole length. This is 8.5 inches across. So it's a way to kind of fake it. So let's go ahead and stamp our bear, and I'm gonna show you when you stamp him full strength. I'm gonna show you another card I did on Sunday, and I do have a video for that card. But when you stamp him full strength and you put him down, this is the color that he is. Now you see the difference in my 2 bears. So if you want him at full strength, you just stamp him directly into the ink. But we want him to be a little paler like he is on this card here. And so I'm gonna grab my bear stamp. I'm gonna bring it here, and I'm gonna place it down with the rubber side up. I'm gonna grab my blending brush for my brown. This is soft suede, and I'm gonna ink it up. And then I am going to rub it into the stamp. I'm going to ink it back up, and I'm going to rub that back into the stamp and get it nice and dark. I'm going to do it one more time. Want to make sure I have enough ink on it. So when you rub your stamp like this, it does deposit the ink, but it adds it a little bit lighter. So when you stamp it down, I'm going to stamp it here onto this scrap piece of cardstock. So I'm going to make sure he's lined up in there, and go ahead and put him down and press him. He's kind of a big stamp, so you want to give him some time to let the ink soak in. And when you pull him up, you see how light he is compared to this one. Pretty cool. So you get another shade, and we're gonna fussy cut that out in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and clean my stamp off before I make a mess. I'm gonna use the other side as well. And I may get in his little crevices here. And this is something I do with larger stamps. I will pick up my chamois and actually rub it along the stamp to make sure that I get all the little parts and pieces of my stamp nice and clean. So we're gonna fussy cut him out. I've already stamped on my label in fresh freesia paper with soft suede ink the words "A Note of Thanks," and I have already stamped my wood grain stamp from On the Horizon, and then I use the dies to cut it out. So the reason I cut it ahead of time is so that I wouldn't have to stamp it and then have to line it up and cut it out. So it's just much simpler for me to put it together like this, but we are gonna go ahead and fussy cut this bear out. So I'm gonna put that to the side. We don't need this color. All right, so let's go ahead and fussy cut him out. He's fairly easy to cut out because he's so big. You just kind of work your way around him. And as you can see, I'm moving the paper with my hand and not the bear. I mean, not my scissors. So I'm just moving with my left hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm holding the scissor in my right hand. And I am kind of just moving my paper around. And that helps to, his little foot wants to get caught there. It helps so that you end up with a really smooth cut and it's not choppy. The only time I lift my scissor is when I get close to the end of my blade and I want to push my blade back down to the end. And let's work our way around. We're almost done. He's fairly, like I said, he's fairly simple to cut out because he's a large stamp and there's not too many intricate places on him. We're almost done. Let's do his face. Let's do his face and around his nose here. And that's it. I have a jagged point right here that I want to smooth. Other than that, I think he looks pretty awesome. What do you guys think? I think he turned out pretty cool. So now this label that that I cut from the stitched pieces, we're gonna do a little ink blending. You can see how I've been having some fun today on my scrap paper. I'm gonna move these guys. Let's move the card in the corner here. Let's move this one and put our pieces on top, and let's go ahead and do a little bit of ink blending. So I'm gonna start at the bottom, and I'm gonna start with crumb cake, and I'm gonna create the ground that the bear is going to be on. So I'm gonna grab one of my blending brushes here. I'm gonna start by getting that initial off, and then I'm gonna work it around my edge, and then I'm gonna bring it in a circular motion. And I'm depositing that crumb cake right in here and getting a nice dark ground base. And now we're going to use fresh freesia. So let me move that blending brush out of the way. And we're gonna do the sky in this fresh freesia. So I'm gonna ink that up. I'm gonna grab my, again, I'm gonna blot off because I don't want that dark initial piece and I wanna kind of rotate it onto my cardstock. And we're just gonna work our way, and I'm gonna press down and as I move in a circular motion, and then I'm gonna overlay the two colors so that there's no seam there in the middle where they meet. And there is my background. One more thing we have to do to it. We're gonna stamp. So we're gonna stamp two stamps. We're gonna stamp our grass, which is right here, and we're gonna stamp this flower. So I have to grab my stamps. So here's the grass, and let me grab the flower. and they are going to be stamped in Evening Evergreen, the same color as our background. So we're going to put this one in this corner here. Looks good. And then we're going to do this grass in this corner right here. So that is that. Let's go ahead and clean our stamps. That is all the stamping we're going to do today. Now we're just going to assemble our card, but I definitely want to clean this off, because like I said, if I don't, I will end up sticking my hand in it. I just don't have enough room on my desk. When I do my videos, I have stuff everywhere, and I don't want to stick my hand where it's not supposed to be and get ink all over me. As it is, I already have ink on my hand, see? Hence the name, Inky Hands, Warm Hearts. All right, let's go ahead and assemble. So we have our parts and pieces. So this piece here is going to be lifted up. So I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to put in the, always do the 4 corners first. And then I'm going to do right here and right here. And I'm going to give a little bit more in the middle, because I definitely want to have some stability. And especially on this end here, I'm going to have overlap. So it's nice to have that stability there. So that's what we're going to do. And let's go ahead and glue that part down. So we're going to go ahead and pull these off, which I'm using my Take Your Pick tool. I always use this to pull the backs off my Stampin' Dimensionals. One more. All right. And let's go ahead and attach this piece. Now I want it to be over, and it's going to be a little off center, but it's okay. We have to compensate for having these 2 extra pieces on the other side. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull my hands away in a minute, and it is off center. You'll be able to see that. I definitely want to make sure that my card piece is straight though. So you see how I'm a little bit more to the right than to the left, and it's because we need to make room for this piece that we're going to be attaching on here. So this is our board, and we're going to attach it right there onto the corner. But on this side, we need to add a dimensional because we don't want it to fall flat. So I'm going to put 2 dimensionals on this side. I'm going to pull the backs off, and then I'm going to put my wet adhesive on this side here because it's going to meet my card. And it needs to be able to have something to stick to. So now that I have both kinds of glue on here, I'm going to bring my card back in, and I'm going to just find the right spot. I'm going to slide it up right about there. And once I have my wet glued piece where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and press down, and those 2 dimensionals are going to hold that up. Now we're going to do the same thing here. This piece is going to be next, and the dimensional we need one right there on the corner. So we're going to stick that one in there. The rest of it can get wet adhesive because now it's going to lay on this piece. So we're going to use our wet adhesive. And then we're going to put our little note of thanks right here. I'm going to drop it a little bit, I think. Yeah, right about there. And when I'm happy with it, I am going to press that dimensional. Oh, I forgot to take the back off. I'm like, wait a minute, why isn't it sticking? Because I forgot to use my Take Your Pick tool and pull the back off. But luckily I was able to lift that up and grab that. So now when I press it into place, now we have to put our little bear on. It's turning out pretty cool. So let's go ahead and add some dimensionals to our bear. We're going to go ahead and put a few on him. And then we're going to use some minis. Let me grab those. We're going to fill in the spots because we want him to be nice and strong and solid. So the minis help for those kinds of things when we need to get them into these tight spots here. So we're going to go ahead and pull those off. Let's grab my Take Your Pick tool. get the rest. Whoops. I guess that one had already come off and I didn't realize it. I had pulled that one off already. Get on there. All right, 2 more. All right. So now goes our bear. Isn't he so cool, this bear? I love him. So I'm going to have him kind of striding down here where the flowers are towards that wooden part. He's so beautiful. And then the finishing touch for our card are going to be these brushed brass butterflies. Don't say that 3 times fast, because that is a tongue twister if I ever heard one. And I'm going to use the pointy end. I'm not going to use the putty end because these are heavy and it's just easier to lift them by pulling them up off. I'm going to add one here, this corner. I'm going to add a small one right near it, flying in the other direction. I'm going to add another small one right above the bear here. And there are my embellishments. I think this card is so cool. Now, one thing I did want to share with you is that this card is a Case the Catalog card. Every Wednesday on my blog, I case the catalog. And what casing means is copy and steal everything. That's what it stands for. It's an acronym. And what I have copied is out of the mini catalog, which June 30th is the last day to purchase out of it. So on page 2, I have this card right here, and I really liked it. So I decided that I wanted to make a card that was similar. So you see it has that strip of paper. It has a label. I used a different one. I put, instead of words here, I put my main focus and I did my words on this side. So you can just change it a little bit. This also has butterflies. It's just a coincidence that I chose to use butterflies. I could have used a completely different embellishment. And I used 3 as well, but I put them at the top above the bear. So as you can see, in our catalog, you can get lots of inspiration and copy cards with whatever stamp sets you have. You don't actually have to own the stamp set that the card was made with. And so every Wednesday, I have cards that are called Case the Catalog cards. They are cards that I have used with other stamp sets, the stamp set that I'm using for that week, and I choose a different card that was made with something else. And I like to be able to show you guys that you can use lots of different stamp sets to copy the ideas that are in the catalogs. So I hope that you enjoyed this card, this Slimline card, and hopefully I gave you all the dimensions. If I didn't, I'm sorry, but these were scraps. I used a scrap for this. The dimension for this die cut piece, I believe, is 2 3/4 by 3 1/4. And I know I gave you the DSP, which is 2 1/4 by 3. Maybe that was for the bear, is that 2 3/4 by 3 1/4. So I think the bigger one is 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. Yeah, 4 3/4 by 3 1/4 for this one here. The fresh friche on the inside, I know I gave you that, which was 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. And the rest was really just scraps that I had lying around of cardstock and different colors. So just use what you have from your stash. I really appreciate you watching. If you stayed to the end, thank you, thank you, thank you. You can check the description below for the products that I used. If you'd like to purchase any of them, please get them from my online store. Check for the host code that is located on my website, inkyhandswarmhearts.com. That's how you get to my store. Anyway, you have to go to inkyhandswarmhearts.com. There is a link in the description below. When you go there, scroll to the bottom and there'll be a section that says host code. It'll have the current host code. It is April of 2022 right now, and my host code is S like Sam, GX, V like Victor, E3WQ, and you can use it until the end of April for anything that you purchase. I appreciate it if you do use that. It helps me bring you more videos. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Hit that subscribe button so you can get notifications of when I post new videos. Share my videos as well. I'm so grateful to have you on my channel. Thanks again. This is Kelly with Inky Hands Warm Hearts. Happy stamping!